Hello, it's Greg Harrelson again coming at you from the Level Up podcast, of course, from agent to entrepreneur. And I've got another guest here that I want to introduce to you. His name is Dusty, and I'm going to actually look at my notes right now because I've taken his name and dissected it so I can actually pronounce it right. It's Dusty Labossiere. Did I get that right?
You crushed it.
Dusty Labossiere. So Dusty's coming from Century 21 Results or Century 21 Results Realty out of Atlanta, Georgia. I think the office is actually in Cumming, Georgia, and it's owned by a great friend of mine named Terry Swanson. So, hey, Terry, if you watch this, I just wanted to say, give you a little shout out and thanks for introducing me to Dusty. So, Dusty, why don't we just dive right into this conversation? But before we go too deep into strategy and tactics and whatnot, can you bring us up to speed? How long you've been in the business? What kind of production are you doing? Tell us a little bit about your journey between your start and right now. And if I remember, I didn't ask you this in our pre-conversation, but I think I can't remember what business that you were in or what you were up to, but I know that you whatever that was, I think it's helped you out when it comes to centers of influence. So maybe you can just take us on that little journey.
Yeah, of course. So I'm a native Georgian, grew up in East Cobb, just about 15, 20 minutes north of the city, and never thought I'd wind up in sales or even being good at it. In fact, I was always I don't know who taught me. I just was kind of against salespeople or just the industry and sales. So a really long story short is, between 17 and 22 years old, I got really bad off into substance abuse. And I fell into a program called No Longer Bound that's in Cumming, Georgia. It's a Christ-centered long-term program for men that struggle with addiction. And that place basically single-handedly helped save my life / change the trajectory that my life would take me or that I would decide to go. At that program that I worked at, and I was there for a little bit over, I think 4.5, 5 years, somewhere around there. I was in the program, then I was an intern, and then I was a staff member. And as an intern and a staff member, I was in graphic design. And so worked inside of a print design studio, learned how to do that. And that's really helped my business from a marketing standpoint. But on the flip side of that, I made like $16,000 to $20,000 a year where I was working. So I loved what I was doing. But once I got married, luckily my wife was killing it in the new home construction gig with D.R. Horton, and she was carrying us financially. But I didn't want that to be like the long-term future for us. So I decided to get my real estate license. My mother-in-law actually pushed me into getting it. And I was terrible at it. I went into the whole thing just thinking, hey, I'll be a part-time agent. I can supplement my income. I can do all this. And then slowly but surely reality kind of set in. And, you can't be a great agent and do it part-time. And I realized that over, a course of a year or so, and started at Century 21 Results. Long story short, wound up over at Mark Spain for about 10 months, quit that, went into new home construction for 10 days. Quit that because I knew it wasn't right for me. And then I went back to Century 21 Results. And from a standing start in 2018, I was able to take top individual producer out of about 250 agents at our office.
Man, that's fantastic. Well, I wanted to say this, and I forgot, in a previous conversation that you told me about that journey of the substance abuse and whatnot. And it just needs to be said, congratulations for turning your life around. And I'm sure that there's people that are, in our audience that are going to hear this that are struggling with some things. We all are. And, some of us are struggling a little bit more than others, but you're a great example for somebody that's turned it around. And also congratulations. I know you just became a father just the other day. So you got another new journey. You got a lot on your plate right now, but I can really just tell from your energy that you're probably very grateful for the things that are in your life right now. And it kind of shows to me. So that's fantastic. And I'm sure it's going to help you out in your business. So let's, so tell me what a standing start is for you. I know what you mean by that. You kind of started over, but what did that look like? And then tell us where you are right now.
Well, standing start in my mind was, I signed, not a non-compete, but, I was basically signed paperwork with Mark Spain that would prevent me from working with any of the leads that were generated through Mark Spain.
Yes.
Pretty common practice. And so, I made about $80,000 over at Mark Spain, closed, I think, close to 40 homes, but I left a ton of money on the table. And so going back to Century 21 results, all my book of business that I had built over at Mark Spain, I kind of had to just let sit, and just leave because it wasn't mine to take with me. So going over at the beginning of 2018, I really just started with my network, my sphere of influence. I helped mitigate that by advertising myself as an agent while I was with Mark Spain through social media platforms and just word of mouth and just relentless follow up with as many people as I could. So I think that really helped mitigate how difficult it is to get some of the momentum going. And, when you're a new agent in the business, Mark Spain was great. I got a ton of experience. I would look at it as paid internship. The only reason that it was great for me is because I knew when to quit. And I respect Mark Spain, the team, nothing negative about any of those. They've got a great model. I learned a ton, grateful for the time that I was over there. I just knew that I wanted more for myself. And so, I stayed true. I tried to negotiate my splits over there, couldn't get what I wanted to. And so, wound up going back to traditional brokerage as an individual agent.
Mm-hmm.
Where I'm at right now, I'm on track to tie myself from last year. But the biggest difference between last year and this year is that I went out to Montana with my camper, my pregnant wife, our 3 wiener dogs for about 8 weeks.
Wow.
And so I was able to list about 5 homes while I was remote, gone working remotely. So I got some production in the pipeline, but it was not growth mindset at all. It was kind of like detach, enjoy life before the baby got here, because it would be like the last time that we were able to take that kind of time. And my business suffered a little bit, but I don't regret doing it.
Yeah, I know you mentioned you're somewhere in that 50 deal, range, and so just in a very short period of time, you went from starting at 0 and growing to 50 deals. So you touched on, what I would say you touched on social media, advertising, and kind of building a brand for yourself. I guess what you did is you build a brand around your name. Is that what you did? And that's what allowed you it to transfer no matter where you are, your name follows you. Would that be accurate or?
I think the reason I've been moderately successful is that I'm just authentically myself. I think in the beginning you have to emulate something because you just don't know what you don't know. And so I've watched all the Gary V videos and the different, podcasts and following different agents and tried to learn, and I picked up a lot, but I found what works best for me is to just be myself. And if I have my client's best interest at heart, and I believe that, and I'm good at follow up, being organized and pretty much just staying in close proximity to my client's needs, that it's been a no-brainer. Mm-hmm. I just opened up, or my team name's called LaBoss Group. It's just a play off my last name. It's finally redeemed itself a little bit, but truthfully right now it's just me and a closing coordinator, and we're looking to hire a couple more people within the next year or two to kind of help grow the business a little bit.
Yeah. So, for the audience that's out there, notice how he calls himself a team, and it's really only him and his closing coordinator, because the reality is if there's anybody besides you, it really is a team, right? It is a team effort. And it sounds like you're going to work on that. We'll talk about maybe what that's going to look like in the future. Now, you had mentioned to me that around 60 to 70% of your business is coming from some sort of referral or warm connection of somehow, whether it's centers of influence, a referral from a friend, family member. That seems to be a very good number. You don't look like you're that old. So it seems like that's a pretty good number. How did you develop that? I think that's an area where real estate agents can do a better job. What are you doing right that's getting this type of result?
It was all accidental. None of it was on purpose. I gained such a huge network with No Longer Bound that, it's a nonprofit, it's the people that I worked with and for, like, was life-changing type of work. And so huge network there. I'm from Georgia. We've got like my high school and college friends. everything from just being here and knowing a lot of people with friends and family to, being entrenched at the gym that I go to, for the past 5 or 6 years to no longer bound. I would say to any agent out there that would really want to develop their sphere of influence is passive advertising through, or to stay top of mind through social media, because it is the new television. That's what people are looking at on a regular basis, in conjunction with doing stuff that you love to do. Like, I love to go to the gym. I love to train. I love to give back to my community over at No Longer Bound. I love being a part of that. I love my friends and my family. And so the stuff that I'm naturally drawn to, if they know that I am a real estate agent, that I do good work and that I'm successful and I'm in relationships with these people on a regular basis, it winds up like I get more people calling me than I call other people.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't say that arrogantly. I just think that learning how to be likable and learning how that really just comes down, I think, just learning how to be a likable human being. And that is a learned skill. If you can learn that and you can form good relationships with people, I think you'll have a great time, not just successful in making a lot of money and growing business, but also having a great time while you're doing it. I love like 85% of what I do. I'm indifferent on about 10% of it, and I don't like about 5% of what I do.
Yeah.
But I think those are great numbers. I've never had a career or a job that I've been as happy to do as what I'm doing now.
Yeah, Dusty, when you see me looking down, I'm taking notes. Okay.
Yeah, no, you're good.
That's what I'm doing. My audience who frequently watches my podcast knows that I'm constantly taking notes and thinking of things. And let me tell you what I really got from you. And this is like, it just came to me just a minute ago, is your results with your centers of influence has less to do with what you're doing and more to do with who you're being.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
That's like a big one. That is a big one. So like in every opportunity as business people or just human beings, we have an opportunity to make an impression, right? No, we're going to make an impression.
Yeah.
In every connection we have, no matter how deep that connection is. And I think that when we understand that we're always going to make a connection, but we stay committed to make the best connection possible, then what you're experiencing is a byproduct. It just kind of naturally, it's almost like a magnet. It's a gravitational pull where you pull the business to you versus having to work hard and go grab the business. Now, I'm assuming, first of all, what is your thoughts on that? Because I think that's worthy of just an audience like really hearing this dialogue for a moment.
I would agree with it, but you have to have the underlying foundation of bringing good service, which means listening to what people want, following up, and just good communication. That's really what it comes down to. I'm no stranger to hard work. My dad and both my parents taught me to have extremely good work ethic. And so that's anything that I've done. I've always been somebody that has been all in. I have a hard time going halfway on anything. And so if you have good relationships and, being a likable person mixed with a good work ethic and a good level of service, I think you're set up nicely to have people that want to work with you and that you don't necessarily have to beat down over the phone or overcome the objections. And I've done plenty of that. I'm okay at it. It's not my strong suit. And I'm okay with continuing to get better at it. But, I think it's also wise to know what your strengths are, stick with them and grow them, and then maybe hire people that can mitigate what you're not good at from a weakness standpoint.
Yeah. So taking this database that you have, do you have these people in a database?
I do.
Okay, good. All right. That's a good start. I want to make sure that you're not just, being likable and that's it. And you just rely on everything. I imagine there's some sort of, organization there. So what are some things, whether it be social media, whether it be email drip, what are some of the things that you're doing to nurture your database?
So
again, you're
I
getting
have,
huge production from your database. So
yeah,
what are some strategies, some secrets that you might want to share with us?
I don't do email drip campaigns, and
Okay.
the reason that I don't is, and this might be short sighted, but I don't do them because I don't value drip campaigns myself. I don't like I unsubscribe from anything that I don't really want. Again, it really comes down to motivation on buyers and sellers, depending on which bucket you fall in and how quickly I'm going to be following up with you. So number one, I'm extremely organized. I think if you're not organized, this business will chew you up and spit you out within a year. There are some people that surprise me with how unorganized that they are and how long that they can keep it, and that's fine. They can do their thing. But the amount of energy it takes me to pull up information about a certain person or a certain deal is fractions of what it would cost somebody from an energy standpoint if you're not organized. And so handling a large volume of business and being able to pull the information that I need and access it quickly is super important. Otherwise, I mean, it's just from a cost effective standpoint. So I stay organized, and what I do to nurture business, I would say, is that again, I'm like on Hootsuite with Instagram, Facebook page, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, all of those different platforms. The only thing I'm really not on is Twitter, because I've yet to really understand how to market myself as an agent on there. But I'm every chance that I can advertise myself, and that is, just listed, under contract, sold, at a home inspection, at a closing table, if I'm doing any kind of event with real estate, any kind of quirky or funny type deal. And I like to have a sense of humor about some of it too, which is just authentically myself. I will post, I schedule this stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing it on a regular basis, and it looks good. It's branded well. I try to give tips and market updates on a pretty regular basis too. And so all of that stuff is done intentionally, and it's scheduled. It's definitely not just a fly by your seat of the pants type schedule.
Yeah, so you have a marketing, I'll call it marketing calendar,
Yeah.
or marketing schedule. And
Yep.
you being as disciplined and organized as you are, you're probably actually checking off all those check boxes.
That's right.
Getting that done. And are you seeing that the return that you're getting from that type of marketing, is it really come from more, how do you measure it? Or do you just know that you're just top of mind, and that's okay? It's not that if it can't be measured, stop doing it. But, how do you measure internally whether or not this is actually working?
I think I'm relatively new in the business. And so the amount of production that I've been able to do has blown my own mind, where it just kind of happened. And I've been preoccupied enough with managing pipeline and deals and trying to hit the next stepping stone that, from a measurement standpoint, I don't even know how I would measure people being aware of what I'm putting out there. Again, I'm just looking at how the world has changed in the past just 10 years. And this is the television. If you're not on there, if you're not on social media, you will be. If you're not already irrelevant, you will be. You can. I think the only people that stand a good shot at not having to do that are agents that have been embedded in the business for the past 10, 15, 20 years and already have a pretty strong book of business. There's ways to do it outside of it. For a new agent getting into it that doesn't have a lot of money to spend on advertising, it is a no-brainer to be consistently top of mind on social media. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't even have to be relatively good. As long as your name is associated with real estate, I think that's better than not even being thought of in the first place. Because if you don't have somebody's attention, you don't have a shot at their business.
Yeah, I don't know if you do this or not. I assume you do, but I want just the audience to know what's possible. So do you know about custom audiences? I assume you do with Facebook?
Yep.
Okay, so for you out there that's thinking, gosh, how would I get started? Not for Dusty, he's already doing this, but for those that are thinking, how would I get started? If you've got a database of centers of influence, one thing that you should do right now is you should actually learn how to post a Facebook custom audience, which means you can take that database that you have, you can import it into Facebook, And then you can actually post, and your post is only going to be seen by those people that you imported. So if you want to do a video of a market update, you don't want to do that once every month, or you want to do that bi-weekly, however you want to do it, you actually could create a video and post it, and it would be seen by your centers of influence only, which is a great way to kind of really stay top of mind with the most important asset that you have, which is your personal database. I assume you're doing some things like that and probably going beyond that, right, Dusty?
Yeah. I think one thing that, again, when we're talking about like just stepping into like almost accidental success, something that I've realized that has really fed a lot of my relational business is that I'm really open about my life and what I go through and what I experience, what I have been through. The reason that I do that is because I believe that it's important to share stories that, are underdog stories or stories of redemption. I like to put my story out there because it was, between 17 and 22, I didn't think I was going to be 30 years old at some point. Never thought I'd be married. Never thought I'd have a kid. Never thought I would be even relevant. And so being able to transcend a lot of that through multiple different, avenues of help. My story of how I've kind of come through that and how open I am with it on a regular basis and how I share that through social media, which is, a lot of people are against that, or at least are afraid to do it. And I understand why. It's really helped bolster me as a member of my community. And because I'm a leader in a lot of aspects in that, I get a lot of phone calls to help people out with representing them to buy and sell homes. A lot of people from the recovery community, a lot of people from, my gym or friends and family, any of that kind of stuff. So
that's
people
fantastic.
love stories.
Yeah.
They love them. I love stories. And
my favorite movie of all time is the whole Rocky series, and every Rocky movie, I'll watch it 1,000 times. I'm good with it. And my kids, that are my 9-year-old son probably would say his favorite movie is Rocky, because he's watched it so many times. So moving forward, you said you got a goal. I think what's your goal for this year or for the next year?
I would like to, because I just had a kid, money's great. And so I'm financially motivated. And I'm also, I think at some point you either want more money, or you want more time. And without sacrificing, having integrity and values and all that other kind of stuff. Now that I have a kid, I don't want to be the person who, like, my wife hates me, wants to divorce me because I'm working all the time, never there for his kids, So I'm my goal right now is to grow the business, even if that means having to take a step back from a bottom line income number in order to get more time with my family at some point, for a greater return. I've taken a step back in order to take 2 forward down the line. And I understand that that's typically how it works when you hire somebody or bring somebody on to kind of handle your business. You're so busy trying to coach and teach and train that, production suffers a little bit, but it's a long-term play. And so I'd love to hit $500,000 GCI this year. That's a goal that I've got. Again, to be the top individual producer again, but also to bring somebody into the fold and help manage business.
Yeah, got it. So are you going to go to the direction, what is your vision for your team? Like in 2 to 3 years from now, what would you hope that would look like?
Probably have another admin. I've got so I've got a closing coordinator now. There's just a contracts to close deal, and she's great. That's the best money I have spent, hands down, to be able to produce what I have. Like not having to get the amendments, checking on different contingencies, all the stuff from contract to close. I have a licensed agent that does a transactional deal with me every time. Best money I've ever spent. Goal for team moving forward. I would like to be the top producing team at my brokerage within the next 2 or 3 years. I don't think that's that was my goal in 2018, was to be the top individual producing agent. And I felt like an idiot writing it on my board. Like I felt arrogant, or just like it was way too much. So again, it just blows my mind that I was able to do it myself. And I didn't even, I mean, it was on my whiteboard the entire year, but I wasn't just like laser focused on that. I was just trying to do my best every day that I could to get what I could done. And that's pretty much it. So at some point, I'd love to grow a team. I really like the idea of having some kind of campaign where I'm giving back to programs, or maybe like No Longer Bound, or different nonprofits that I believe in that give back. You know, and maybe each agent that I work with could have some kind of organization that they believe in to give back a portion of their commission, in order, you know, to not only get more business, but to give back to, you know, the people that we live with side by side on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, you know, it's just good to be giving, you know,
Yeah.
and then let the law of reciprocity take place, right? If you just give unconditionally and not really try to calculate what your return's going to be off the giving, then that's when we get the most out of it. You know, some of the things that you said remind me of a time where I was producing, I don't know, maybe 300 sales a year. And it got to a point where the money, I don't know that the money was ever my motivation, but there was a point where money was my focus.
Yeah.
And then, but it got to a point where the money became an amount where I almost started to feel like it was wrong.
Yeah.
And so what I did, though, is, I can remember this, and I've said this many times, my coach kind of figured out that I had a problem of always setting goals based on money.
Yeah.
And so we turned it, we just changed the wording of it.
Yeah.
We figured out how many families we needed to serve, how many people we needed to help. So we turned it into serving people. And so if the goal was, I want to do 500 transactions, well, there's a point when enough is enough. Enough transactions is enough, right? There is a point where enough money is enough. You know, for some people, they may say that's not true, but it is. I mean, if you had 100 billion, then you probably give half of it away. It's because you don't need it, right? So there is a number. But when we look at it and say, well, how much is too much when it comes to serving families? And there's never too much. Like, no matter how many people I serve, I can always serve one more, because it's about them.
I would, there seems to be a cultural thing surrounding money. I view as the accumulation of money as a ticket for my family to have a big life.
Yeah.
That's kicked in even more with having a kid now. My wife's been able to quit and be a stay-at-home mom, which she really wants to do, and it's been a huge blessing for us. And so I look at that, and I love what I do, and I love being able to provide for my family. So when I've always wrestled with just saying the words out loud, like financially motivated. And I never thought that I would really be, I have never been one to really chase money outside of being in real estate. You know, the ceiling's so high that it just kind of blows you away of like what you can do if you really want to. And so I've just gotten a small taste of, you know, just last year on like how much money you actually can make doing it. If you're the only way you can make that kind of money is if you're providing real value to people. So it really does I know it sounds, because making money is not in the, like for me, if my bank account has nothing to do with the clients that I serve. But the only way that my bank account can grow is if I'm providing excellent service to the people that I'm working with. And so, you know, there's a stigma around money, and I totally understand it. I grew up in all different kinds of climates. My dad made good money and my dad was in and out of alcoholism growing up. So when he made good money, he made great money. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. And then when my parents divorced, you know, we were strapped. My mom had to work 3 jobs just to keep the house. I hardly saw her, you know, for a couple of years. And so I really do get both extremes of it. But I wrestle with it. I'm not ashamed to tell people that I'm financially motivated anymore, because at underneath it, I really know what it is. And that's really just wanting to afford the people that I know and love a big life, myself, and family, and, you know, influence a community as you know, along the way.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, good, Dusty. I appreciate you sharing all this, and I know the
Sure.
audience is going to get some value out of this. So let's go ahead and wrap up with, tell us how can, if the audience needs to send a referral, you know,
Yeah.
down to, you know, the greater Atlanta area, and I know that's a big market,
It's a big market.
but how can they reach out to you? What's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Give me a call. I answer my cell phone all the time. It's 404-750-9236. My name is pretty unique. I don't know any other Dusty Labossieres out there either. So reach out to me anytime. I serve the majority of the north hemisphere of the Metro Atlanta market. I'm a native Georgian for the past 30 years, and you know, do a ton of business in that specific area. So.
Yeah, I'd probably add, you're probably pretty easy because of your last name to find on Facebook.
Yeah.
So Facebook Messenger is another way to reach out, I'm sure.
Right.
And
Yeah.
if anybody wants to reach out to me, of course, you just go to Greg Harrelson on Facebook. You'll find me, and hit the message button. Shoot me a message. If there's anything I can answer, any questions or whatnot, shoot me a message. I answer them. I pretty much answer them all. And you can count on that. So in the meantime, Dusty, again, thank you so much. Congratulations for doing a great job. And I look forward to, you know, kind of meeting you at some point face to face. I know we've got a mutual, you know, a friend in Terry. So, and I'll definitely share with him, you know, the conversation that we had. I'm sure he'll watch this himself.
Yeah. Pleasure to meet you, Greg. Thanks for the time. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, buddy.